Ruin has come to our family. You remember our venerable house? Opulent and imperial, gazing proudly from its stoic perch above the moor. I lived all my years in that ancient, rumor-shadowed manor, fattened by decadence and luxury. And yet I began to tire of conventional extravagance. Singular, unsettling tales suggested the mansion itself was a gateway to some fabulous and unnameable power. With relic and ritual, I bent every effort towards the excavation and recovery of those long-buried secrets, exhausting what remained of our family fortune on swarthy workmen and sturdy shovels. At last, in the salt-soaked crags beneath the lowest foundations, we unearthed that damnable portal of antediluvian evil. Our every step unsettled the ancient earth. But we were in a realm of death and madness. In the end, I alone fled laughing and wailing through those blackened arcades of antiquity, until consciousness failed me. You remember our venerable house, opulent and imperial. It is a festering abomination. I beg you, return home, claim your birthright, and deliver our family from the ravenous, clutching shadows of the darkest dungeon.
Well, he's dead. Hey there guys, this is Dasacht, and I've decided I'm going to start doing a Let's Play of Darkest Dungeon. I've gotten about 23 hours into this game, and I'm going to be creating a new save file with you guys. As you can read on the screen, Darkest Dungeon's gonna go bad. Things are gonna go wrong, characters will die, so you'll have to retreat from many of your campaigns, and they're gonna stay dead. You have to make sure, playing this game, that you don't push your characters too far, and it presents the idea of how far are you willing to go with your characters? How far will you push them? It's that kind of question. Now I have 3 saves here. This is the furthest I've gotten. And by the title you can guess I've gone a very heavy damage build in it with Smashy Smashy. But I'm just going to get rid of this one. And I'm going to create a new save. So we have to click on the letter to begin. So let's call it That's going to be a horrible name, I know, but I'm still going to do it. And here we go.
You will arrive along the old road. It winds with a troubling, serpent-like suggestion through the corrupted countryside, leading only, I fear, to ever more tenebrous places. There is a sickness in the ancient pitted cobbles of the old road, and on its writhing path you will face viciousness, violence, and perhaps other damnably transcendent terrors.
Go that way? Okay.
So steel yourself, and remember there can be no bravery without madness. The old road will take you to hell, but in that gaping abyss, we will find our redemption.
You won't, you're dead. We saw that, you put a bullet through your head. You laid in your little bed, put a bullet through your head. I really do enjoy the art style of it, and it's done by Clay Entertainment, who also did Shank, the Shank games, which is one of my more favorite series. I really do enjoy those games as well. They don't get nearly enough love, in my opinion. And we just wait for it to load, and a little button we click. We start the game with, it just shows off the navigation. It'll say, oh, look at this little map down here, this is it. Now that's what it'll look like on long dungeons. This is just the tutorial. What's funny is you can actually die in the tutorial. I like that about this game, you can actually die. We get 2 characters at the start. They always have the same traits and they're always the same 2. So it's Renault, the warrior of the light crusader. This means that he gets more damage when it's bright. He's a kleptomaniac, so he'll steal stuff, and he's God-fearing, so he can only relieve his stress at town. And this is your stress meter here. You can only relieve it by praying. And then we have Dismas, who's actually surprisingly good. He's got a hard noggin, so he's strong against resists, and he's faster than most. But he's not allowed to gamble in town because he's a known cheat. He's a cheating bastard. Right. So we just click there.
Brigands have run up these lanes. Keep to the side path. The hamlet is just ahead.
Now, as it was saying there, like it was going A and D to move, so D and A. And as you can see, you get a little closer, and I got that bit of stress. It's because your characters actually walk backwards, so they start freaking out because they can't. You ever try to walk down a dark corridor with your... Oops.
Dispatch this thug in brutal fashion, that all may hear of your arrival.
See, with that, as I was saying, you move back, you get a little bit of stress because they can't see where you're going. And we get our first encounter. It's just against one guy. Now, miss. There's several different abilities you can use, and they depend on where you're stood. Like Crusaders, all their abilities, because they're a melee guy, rely on them being either on the front or the second. Now, the Bandit can use all his abilities except one. I know he can use all of them in this position, but he can only target certain ones. So say this pistol shot, see how it has the 3 red dots? Well, there's always going to be a maximum 4 people on either side. So if we had 4 people back here, like say 2 more behind these guys, this guy could have 3 more behind him. The pistol shot could shoot anything that's not the first guy. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use open veins. That's a bleed. See, he took a bit of damage with that. Bleeds are actually really strong in this game. We get a lucky dodge. And that's a crit. No, actually, no, it's not a crit, it's just a death.
A faint hope blossoms.
As you saw, he lost a little bit of stress when he killed that target. If they get up to 100 stress, they can either become heroic or break. If they believe that they're in trouble, like if they start panicking out, they can become aggressive, they can become possessive, abusive, they can become all these horrible things.
There is much to be found in forgotten places.
Oh dear, we got surprised. It's not a big deal because I can only just not use this one, but I'm actually going to move him back because I want him to be able to use grape shot to shoot this guy and use his pistol shot. He can't do that from the front. Ooh, that was a crit. And that was a bleed. That's not nice. I'm going to try and stun him. And he resists. If you hover over them, you can see their speed and their resistance to certain things. Ah, and he knocked him back. That particular spell has a knockback effect to it. So I'm just going to do is I'm going to go hell for leather. I'm just going to try and bleed this guy down. Right, so that's a bleed. If I'd attacked him last turn, that bleed would have stacked with this one. So I'm going to try and stun him again. Ooh, that's a crit. And he resists it. If this guy had more stress, an allied crit would reduce his stress. Whereas, as you saw when he critted, the big guy, caused everyone to panic like, oh my god, he critted you in the face. What an asshole. He's not very resistant to bleed, so in 2 more turns, I'd say he'll die. Alright, there it is, yeah. Dodge. And this turn, okay, blanket fire. See, I wanted to move this guy to the back because with their position right now, he's always going to be in trouble versus, I'm just going to buff him. I'm going to swap his position. This guy's going to die, that's guaranteed. Now, what I was saying was, this guy can now shoot him from the back. He doesn't deal a lot of damage, but he deals a fair amount to everyone with that blanket shot. He has other ones, but that's his most commonly used spell. So what I'm going to do is just 4 damage to his face. That bleed ticked him off. I didn't need to attack him, so I could buff him instead, and then swap him. I'm going to... nope, missed on the stun. I've shown you a bit about him. Now, as you can see here, Grape Shot hits the first... See how Grape Shot here has connections between all 3 red dots? That's because it's going to hit all 3 targets. So that big guy counted for 2 spaces. That doesn't mean he takes double damage from the effect, it just means that he takes 1 bit of damage, but he takes up 2 spots because he's particularly big. It's to balance out, like, so you don't have to deal with 4 huge guys at the same time, you could deal with 2. I'm gonna bleed this guy. Does it affect? Yes, it does. Right. Next person to hit this guy will kill him, or he's dead next turn anyway from his bleed. I'll show you a bit of the Crusader. The Crusader has Smite, which is just basic right click when he's in the 1 or 2 slot, and he can target the first 2. So he can only target with his first spells. He can only target with these spells because they all deal with the first 2 targets of the enemy. He can only hit the big guy because he was blocking it. So that's kind of what they do. They're a meat shield, a literal meat shield. Now he's got things like Bulwark of Faith. It increases his proc, his protection, and it actually gives light. So it could, if this brought it up enough, it would bring it up to say 74. If it gets to 75, he gets a buff. But you don't have any here, but you can get torches to do it. So I'm just gonna see if I can. Nope, Crusader missed. And bleed, that's him dead.
Prodigious size alone does not dissuade the sharpened blade.
Ooh, that's something I haven't found before. Okay, so that's the quest completed. Whenever the quest is completed, you just click on that seal and you leave. Now, there's a particular class called the Bounty Hunter, and this is the first time I've gotten an item for the Bounty Hunter on this mode. Melee damage. I'm not sure how that fits in, but it's just interesting to see. I always see how this says Bandit's Trapped Chest? That means that this chest will cause an effect on whoever touches it. Now, if you click on your character, I'll just show you again, if you right click on your character, you can go over to here and you can see, okay, this is how resistant he is to all these different effects, how resistant he is to death blows, how resistant he is to all these other things. Like, he's terrible at traps, as you can see, but for combat he tends to be okay. Whereas if we look at Dismas, he has a 50% chance to evade a trap, whereas if the other guy got caught by one, he'd just be boned by it. So let's see, I'm going to use him to open it. It's trapped, causes a blight. Thankfully, we're at the end of this dungeon, so I can just click to leave, and he won't need to worry about this fact, so I'm just going to do that, and off we go. I'm going to be showing you the first dungeon after this as well as this one. Okay, both characters level up to 1. That's not good. At the end of every dungeon, people get a chance to get a trait. This is a negative trait, it's called stress, or nervous. This means that he's less resistant to stress. Very, very bad thing, because certain abilities from the enemies directly involve your stress. Like, usually it's backliner units that will just throw shit.
Welcome home, such as it is. This squalid hamlet, these corrupted lands, they are yours now, and you are bound to them.
So there's 2 characters, usually 1 or 2 that usually sit in the back lines of the enemy, and they tend to have spells that can cause stress. Now, we look at the only 2 things we have access to right now, the stagecoach and the graveyard.
Most will end up here, covered in the poisoned earth, awaiting merciful oblivion.
So if either one of those 2 guys died, they would join up here, and everyone you lose gets tracked here. Now let's go to the stagecoach.
Women and men, soldiers and outlaws, fools and corpses. All will find their way to us now that the road is clear.
As you can see, there's several units here. We usually only get, these 2. We always get these 2 for the first group.
What better laboratory than the blood-soaked battlefield?
We get the Plague Doctor, particularly good versus undead units, and a curing bleeds and blights. And he gets the Plague Grenade. Those two very good spells. Then we have Cornelius. She can heal the entire party for 1 or 2. It's very, very nice, and if she's stuck in the melee line, she has ways to protect herself with the mace attack and illumination. Those are 2 other spells. Now, we won't encounter it on this one, but I'll explain later these camping skills and things like that. Weak grip on life, this guy. Okay, he's positive. He's better at critting, but he is more and more likely to die from death blows, and when he's in a dungeon, when he's in a weld dungeon, it's stress. I thought that was ruins for a second. No, it's weld. So, whenever he's in the weld dungeon, he's less likely to resist stress effects, which is very, very bad. And we have a weld adventurer. She's the opposite. She is more resistant when she's in there. And just like our highwayman, this one has quick reflexes, so she's a little bit faster. That's very good on a healer, because that means she can be one of the first to act in a turn, and if someone's close to death, she can save them. Compulsive. I hate compulsive so much, because they just freeze and go, oh, what's this? And they'll always check whatever it is, like, oh, we best check this. And as you saw with that chest, some things can be trapped, and it's very, very irritating. Now, what we're going to do is, because we don't need to worry about the number we have, because we can fit 5 more for this one, I'm just going to upgrade the number we can get
Great
to
heroes
here.
can be found even here, in the mud and rain.
As you saw when I did that, we now, instead of next time we come back, instead of getting 2, we get 4. So if all these guys die, I'm ready to go for another round, which is lovely. Now,
A mecca of madness and morbidity.
tough
Your
shit,
work
Reynolds.
begins.
You're going back. Let's see. Alright, I'm going to put the Plague Doctor at the back because that's where he's strongest. All his spells can affect enemies from the back line. And he has Distortion Blast. That causes a shuffle if it's effective. It doesn't deal a lot of damage, but it does cause a shuffle. And that's really, really good because that literally means if he hits someone, they're going to move 1 position away from where they currently are. That's very, very nice. Now, we only have 1 dungeon active, which is the Ruins. The Ruins tend to have highwaymen, cultists, and undead. Whereas the Weld has highwaymen, slimes, cultists. And the Warrens have pigmen. That's not even a joke, they have pretty much pigmen. You can encounter bandits there as well, highwaymen, but less likely. And some undead, just a smaller number. It's usually just heavily focused on the pigmen there. And each one has a particular weakness. You're more likely to... These ones tend to have a lot more debilitating buffs but less fights, I've noticed. Now that could just be from my chances, or that could be an actual thing. Then of course there's the Weld. The Weld has, let's say, poisons and blights very heavily, but they also have tricky units. Say for example there's a slime that can replicate itself or make a bigger slime. Like if it attacks someone, it can cause a very large slime to occur, which is like the bigger bandit that we encountered last time. So we can go here.
The cost of preparedness, measured now in gold, later in blood.
Okay. Now as you can see here, I'm just picking up everything here. So we have food. Sometimes during the dungeon, your party will get hungry, and they'll say, oh, I'm hungry, can we eat? And then you can just give them food. If you don't, they suffer stress and take damage. So it's best to keep some there. This is going to be a short dungeon, so I might not actually need all of it. If I take 8, that means I can heal them twice over. I don't have an occultist, which is a particular type of healer, so I'm only going to take 1 bandage. The skeleton key is kind of useless, and I don't think I'm going to need to worry about anti-venoms. But the torches, in the last dungeon you saw that we had a light meter up at the top, and that was at about 69 or something like that. You saw when I mentioned it that one of our guys has bonus damage when he's in 75 up light. This is what would allow that. When your light goes to 0, your characters stress out more. You're more likely to be surprised by the enemy, but at the same time, you're more likely to crit because you're panicking, so you're swinging wildly, your characters are, and you're more likely to find things. That's based on the whole, oh, you see gold better in the dark because it's shining off of whatever is there. So we'll embark. There's particular builds you can go that allow you to do that whole torchless runs kind of thing. Like I know a YouTuber that's currently doing that, and he uses characters that have very high damage on crit to effectively do that.
The fiends must be driven back. And what better place to begin than the seat of our noble line?
Okay, as you can see, we are currently in this room. There's nowhere else for us to go but this one. Our current mission is a skirmish. Complete 100% of room battles. So, if there is no, like in the last one, when we found that chest that was rigged, we saw that we had that fight beforehand as well. Here, as you can see, we have, those are what room battles are. I don't know what's in the next room, and unless we get a scouting, I'll not know what's in any room. So if we get a lucky scouting here, it might reveal that, oh, there's a boss battle here, or there's a battle here, and a battle here. Or these could just be 2 empty rooms. And if I can determine that before getting to it with a scout, which is just a chance based, that you actually will get a scout and it's just a radius out. If I know, then I won't have to waste resources going there, less time in the dungeon, less stress on the characters, that kind of thing. And then I could just go down here. So we just have to keep moving.
Finding the stuff is only the first test. Now it must be carried home.
So we got these shovels, as you can see. Usually there are things out. Trap. I let myself get trapped. Ooh, that's 8 damage, and that's stress to him. This guy's not handling stress very well. The shovels, usually there's piles of refuse in the way that you need to clear out. If you don't have that, okay, it's a fight. It's gonna hurt. Oh, that's a crit. That's not nice.
Cannot be left unanswered.
Friend of the old gods. Okay, that dodge. That's a bleed chance. Okay. So she's a bit hurt, but we could also really damage the enemy here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to... Does it hit? Yes. Does it debuff? No, it doesn't. That ability, if it had landed, would have caused... Oh no, don't pull. Resist it. Oh, shoot, it pulled. It's not the worst thing, but it's not good either. Okay, so... Oh, they actually that's the only undead unit that has a resist to blight. Say, let's see. I could shoot 3 and deal more damage to them, or I could shoot 1 and deal more damage to that. Yeah, that's weakened or not. I'm okay with that. Ouch to the face. I'm actually going to use this on him to make him more durable. We need to get to these backline too. They are the strongest. So, okay, that's 1 dead.
The fiend falls, a faint hope blossoms.
Friend of the old god. Oh, don't bleed him. It's gonna bleed him. Yep. And quarrel. Ouch. Ouch, ouch, ouch. Okay, so let's see here. I'm just going to cast the AoE heal because everyone's taking a bit of damage. It's very small, but it can add up to complement itself, right? This guy's a little bit weaker to stuns, but I want to stop the Bone Defender from dealing any damage, so let's see if this works. Nope, he resists. Bandaging. As you can see there, it's just like, hey, it's a damage over time effect, you can bandage someone to heal them, so that's what I'm doing. And if you click on this object, you're able to shuffle someone, so I'm shuffling him back. Ooh, that's... Okay, that's resisted. That's also a shuffle effect, but it can stun. So let's see. Now, Open Veins is a bleed. I can damage this guy and the Arbalist with it, if the Arbalist was closer, but they're both 100% resistant to bleed. But this guy only has a 25%, so let's see if we get it. Bleed, it took effect, lovely. He's down to half HP with one thing, that's the beauty of it. Okay. Alright, he's dead next turn with that effect. That spell is a damage to the enemy and it's a small heal on herself. Stun him. Yes, lovely, that's a stun. The Arbalist is still going to shoot, and that sucks because he's a jerk. But I'm going to see if I can blight him. Okay, lovely. These guys are particularly vulnerable to blight, which is lovely. Now, bang. Not a lot of damage. Just softening him up, because once this guy, yeah, he just dropped dead, he's gone.
Prodigious size alone does not dissuade the sharpened blade.
And dodge? Nope, doesn't dodge. Thankfully, it's only just a damage. Right. I'm gonna see if I can. Nope, he resisted it, but he's still taking that. Now, This ability is really nice. It can deal damage to 2 enemies, but the amount of damage that he can deal to a single enemy is far worthwhile
Surges as the enemy crumbles.
with that smite. It's very good versus undead. It's very, very rare you won't want to take a Crusader into ruins because they just hit so hard against single targets. And that's a crit. That's that fight done. As you can see, we loosened his stress a bit from that crit. All that lovely stuff. Okay, so locked sarcophagus. Skeleton keys work on doors and lockboxes. Oh, it's trapped. And he resists bleed. Right. So we don't know what's down here, but we have to check. Because if it's 100% and we have to go all the way back around, it would suck. Because that's just more time in the dungeon, more stress. As you can see here.
The cold stone seems bent on preventing passage.
If we didn't have this shovel, and we needed, like, we could very well not need to go to either of these. But I don't know that, so I have to check. And I'm going to just use this shovel. I have 2 more shovels to use now. And I'm just going to top that off to bring us up high. Because as you can see, we get better chances of scouting and better chances of monster surprise. And those are the 2 that can win you a fight just single-handedly. Aha, a room battle. Oh dear, I don't like that. He's in one of 2 positions he can't use. He's bad in either one of those. And there he goes. Bollocks. I'm actually going to just use her to try and damage this guy at the back because I cannot allow him to. Yes! Okay, good. You saw that spell, that attack there. It didn't deal a lot of damage, but let's see, will this shuffle him? Okay, shuffle some forward one. That means this bone soldier can't attack. Ouch to the face. Move him back one. Ow. Okay, he actually can hit from that. Oh, and that's a crit. Oh boy.
Slightest lapse in concentration.
Yeah, they're focusing now on the Plague Doctor because they realize he's close and he's vulnerable. I'm going to try and move him back 1. He's still going to take a clobbering. Alright, he's on death's door.
A hand's breadth from becoming unwound.
As you can see there, it's like, oh, they're close to death. That sucks. Once the cleric has her next turn, I'm going to use her to try and heal him. So, there we go. That's him away from Death's Door. With Death's Door, it's a chance of a 1-shot. Whereas with this, it means that you only can go at him once. So, perfect. It's him dead. Crusaders hit like a truck with that smite. Very, very nice. Now, I'm just using that because I want to deal damage to both of them. I'm just going to use her to top them off, keep her at the back. She's a healer, that's her job. There's other healing units. There's one that he has a chance to heal you for 0 and a chance to heal you for 10. At the same time, he can very well cause a bleed as well. So he's a hit or miss hero. Okay, that's another dead. And I really hope she gets another attack. Right. Alright, he's dead. Now.
As victories mount, so too will resistance.
You can see what happens with the surprise thing. That's why I try to keep this as high as possible to prevent it, but there's always a chance. Now, I could use a ration to heal him, but unless we get like some really fast unit next turn, he should be fine. I'm just going to top him off so that he gets a little bit better. Once you're on Death's Door, you're far weaker than you normally are. Ooh, lovely. This altar. These can have a negative or a positive. Let's see. Ah, oh, lovely. That's a damage buff. Okay, this guy's going to be trucking people. That's very nice. Oh, lovely. We found a map. Okay, let's see here. What? Okay, the map only shows where everything is, like, oh look, there's an object here to interact with, there's objects here to interact with, but it didn't actually illuminate the rooms. Okay, see how I mentioned the hunger? This is the first time it'll occur. There we go. Nom nom nom. Everyone feels better. I don't have enough for another one. Okay, so we need to go back out of this one. There's a particular icon that the rooms will show up with if they're empty. This one was not empty. There we go. But he's got a nice buff now that will last until he either goes to have a camp. Oh no. See, if I didn't feed him once, but I didn't want to run the risk of an attack killing him, But now they're all gonna starve. Watch. Their stress goes very high. They're all panicking like, oh no, woe to us. Even though we walked like 5 feet, we're now suddenly massively hungry. This sucks. Ugh. Yeah, this is not very fun. But I'm very glad that I can get 4 more and just use a fresh party next event, which I won't have. I'll only record this one and that'll be it. Okay, he dodged that. Lovely. Now they're weak. So what I'm hoping is they surprise an opponent and get a free turn of attack, because surprise counts as a stun for the enemy. Okay, nothing here. Let's keep going. We'll know when we're done as well, because we'll get a huge thing that pops up going, "Da-da, you've won." Okay. Oh boy. Ah, that sucks. Okay, he's on death's door. They have a chance to resist it, but I think his is actually low. Yeah, he's actually quite weak to it. And his resolve's tested, and he's paranoid. Oh boy.
The walls close in. The shadows whisper of conspiracy.
The thing is, when someone is afflicted, they'll begin to panic, and unless you can reduce their stress to 0 in dungeon, you have to do it back at camp, or else they freak out. And by camp I mean town. There is actually a camp mechanic, so ignore what I said by that. Now I need to kill these two so they don't stress out the rest of my party. He dodged because he's a bollocks. Paranoid means that they can miss their turn, things like that. They can freak out. Or they can do something by themselves because they believe that they're doing the right thing and you're lying to them. And see here, he refused to accept the heal because he was paranoid about her. Now he missed because his accuracy is lower. Dodge, thank you. Okay. There's a chance that he can kill these guys if he gets a particular height of it. Let's see. No, he doesn't. But they're both on 2. If the bandit does a grape shot and at least hits them, that should kill them next turn. Okay. As you see here, this time around, it rolls every time to see whether or not he'll accept the heal or not. Oh no, that's a tempting goblet. That might make, yeah, that's gonna make her that's gonna make her resolve test. And she's focused. Yes, that means that she, as you see here, she's got buffs now to everything.
Mortality clarified.
Oh, and that was a crit. That sucks. Her stress went lower, and she's now she got a lot of the positive buffs to her, which is great. Oh no, and his stress is, oh, and he's stalwart. Yes, I believe stalwart's an increase to your durability and such.
Chaos, but not this one. Not today.
Whew, that's 2 virtuous things in the same. Yeah, boom. That's the beauty of that. 2 virtues in a row is very, very rare. Like that's a great deal of luck on our part. Okay, he's freaking out. Let's throw that. I should blight him. Lovely. Now, next turn, I need to heal with her. No, don't you dare. Don't you dare. Oh, no, that's the death blow. He's dead. Shoot. That goes our damage. Okay, that's not nice. Now, it just showed up at a thing there. Oh, discretion is the better part of valor. You may want to retreat. It's like, no, fuck that. Smack him. Oh! So that's what focus does. Massive increase to your crit. Oh! Oh, and that was a crit too. Lovely. Where were these crits last time? You could have saved our mate. You wanker. Okay, and boom! And that's another one dead.
This expedition at least promises success.
Ooh, there's some gifts. I'll take that. Some of these can have negative effects, like there could be something negative in there that could be poisoning your party, for example. But let's poke her head in, because you always gotta check. Curiosity will kill this cat. Okay. We'll just torch up and go to the next round.
May we find victory.
Alright. So... boom! Alright, that's a great start. This leaves 3 humans. Oh, that's a rend. Ugh. Okay, he resists the bleed. Lovely. Okay, she's gonna try and pull him forward. Let's see if he resists. He does not resist, and now he's at death's door. Very likely he can die with this. We might just only survive with these 2. Oh, dodge. Okay, lovely. That was very nice. Right, let's see if we can. Okay, nope, that was a fail shuffle. And okay, misses one. The accuracy is quite high. Accuracy is quite high on this guy, but still. Okay, Eldritch pull. Oh, don't do that. Shoot! Now he's at the back. That sucks. He's the only one of this party that can contribute from that position. Right, side it, smack him. Okay, let's swap that. Right, I'm actually going to swap his position with the Crusader, so the Crusader can do that. We get rid of this occultist now. She has a stress ability as well, but you can see she has that pull. She can also do a push and push, say, your stronger melee guys backwards rather than trying to pull your weaker supports forward. Which is actually worse because your melees are then at the back where they're useless. Okay, he dodged the... You've been judged worthy, apparently. As you can see, he just lost a bit of stress doing that and just, you know, being very stalwart and all that kind of nonsense. Whereas this guy can start freaking out and spewing stuff and cause his other team to stress out, because if you have someone negative around you like that, it tends to occur. I really do enjoy the whole element of stress in this game and how your characters begin to freak. Yay, we are brushed. Yay. That's a blight, and he's going to try and swing for her, and he hits her. That's a blade. No, it's not as resist. Okay, I'm going to stun, and I hope this works. It's a stun. Excellent. Now, I'm just going to cast this on her, because this does no effect, but if you pass the turn with someone, they can stress out. I actually just wanted her to heal them a bit. Now, he's going to ignore the heal because he's a butthead, but these two get a nice 2 heal. That's great. And he died from the blight.
A victory. Perhaps the turning point.
Oh yes, that's very nice. Right, so let's see. Heirloom chest. Keys don't have any effects on chests, so we're just going to poke our head in and see what we get. We get 4 busts. Now that's the dungeon done. What I'm actually going to do is I'm going to go a little further, because I know that there was these 2 things here. Right, this is just a buff, but we're going to poke our head in. Let's see, what does it do? Okay, see, that's the thing about those. They give a stacking buff, so this guy now has 40 damage. I kind of want to pick a fight here just to see how hard he can hit. Oh, it's maggots. It's going to end so quickly. Okay, these guys have a little stun that they can stack on you, but fuck it.
About to break.
Oh, shut your face. See how she's panicking now because he was mentioning that. So she heals him up a bit. The Grave Nibble is a small stun that these guys can try to do. They're assholes
And
like
now
that.
the true test. Hold
But he's
fast.
stunned for this turn, so
Or
his
expire.
turn won't really take effect. He's actually kind of bad versus these kind of guys because of their their blight resistance. Let's see how hard he hits. Boom!
Executed
2 dead.
with impunity.
Okay, that's his stun gun. But as you can see, he gets the stun resistance, which is nice. Smack! Oh, 16 to the face.
A
Right.
trifling victory, but a victory nonetheless.
I now know that there's nothing down there, because if there was a chest or anything in that room, it would not have completed the quest, because that counts as a battle room. So we're just going to leave.
Room by room, hall by hall, we reclaim what is ours.
All health is healed and restored once they leave the dungeon as well, and blight and bleed effects don't affect them outside of the dungeon. So you get your lads out, you're grand. You don't need to worry about it. Okay. She's weaker now to bleed resist, but she has melee crit. I do not believe these have any kind of cause by what you do in the dungeon. Like, she's not more precise now because she was landing so many crits. It's just by chance that that occurred. And he's got the... For someone who's stressed out, that's kind of surprising. He got a positive buff, and only a positive buff. He got what's called Slayer of Mankind. 10 AC against humans, and 3% crit. That's actually really good. But he's paranoid, so we're not using him next round. We're going to be keeping him in town to heal up and rest.
The poor caretaker. I fear his long-standing duties here have affected him.
You see here we got the Abbey now restored. These are the quest goals. We must kill an apprentice, necromancer, swine prince, and wizened hag. These are all the level 1 first bosses you'll encounter. Then you've got guys by the necromancer, swine king, and hag are just the upgraded versions. More effects, more abilities, and tougher. And then it goes down to there. You got roster goals, which is just to level them up. See how he's level 1, he's level 1, and she's level 1. So if you could get guys up to 6, like a highwayman and all that kind of thing, this level means that they're a lot more resistant to, say, stressing out. And they actually, once they get to level 3, they will not do level 1 missions. They're like, that is a complete waste of my skill. Like, they will just snob you. They'll just say that. They're not going to do it. But yeah, those are all the different classes. It's actually quite a very wide spectrum of classes, and I know they're adding more. They've claimed that they will, which is very nice. Now before we leave, I'm going to show you the stress mechanic and how to fix it. So you can see he's stressing
have
out.
been dusted, the pews set straight. The Abbey calls to the faithful.
Now, thankfully he doesn't need to worry, but if he needed to like relieve his stress, as you can see as I pick him up, he'll only go into here to prayer. That's all he'll do. He won't go to here. As you can see, the light of power is all I need. Let me commune with the light. And if someone was to say have brothel only as a restore, which you can get in the pub, they'll just say, oh no, I only prefer this. As you can see, it costs a certain amount. You can actually reduce the you can increase the stress recovery, so I'm going to do that.
A man in a robe, claiming communion with the divine. Madness.
And actually, should I? To hell with it, I'll do it. I'll increase the number of slots and all.
However desperate, is never without worth.
As you can see, busts and such go towards it. We've got enough crests. You will get a lot of crests. But it's the busts that... busts, all these three are very difficult to get, but crests you almost always get. What else can I show here? There's actually a caretaker, and you saw him in the opening cinematic, and you can see him here. The caretaker will actually, and here as you can see, shows what killed him, shows what level he was an apprentice. All these guys are apprentice, like an apprentice crusader, an apprentice vestal. But once they get to 3 and then to 6, they get upgraded rank, like, oh, you're a badass, basically. So let's go into the tavern.
Fresh kegs, cards, and curtained rooms promise solace to the weary and broken alike.
As you saw I'll just go back, as you saw here, I've given 2 pews here, like 2 spaces here to prayer. So if someone can only prayer at there, and I have 2 of them, I can do that. But if I have someone that only relaxes in the gambling hall, I would need 2 spaces now, because this bollocks takes one up by chance. He might take none one week, and the next week he'll take them all. Shithead, really. Now let's see. Ooh, we got my 3 favorite classes right here. So let's see. 2 Crusaders.
A mighty sword arm anchored by holy purpose.
And a Hellion.
A zealous warrior.
Now let's see. He's compulsive, so he'll check everything, but upgrade costs to his weapon are cheaper. He's got a hatred of the Elric. This one does, so more damage and more resistance to strength. And he has a higher scouting chance. So if this guy lasts long enough and I can use him, I'll probably end up trying to take this guy to take on the apprentice necromancer. Missed the spot, so he's worth it quitting, and he heals less in a camp. Maniac for money. If there's any object which has a chance of causing you to collect gold from it, he'll open it. He has to open it. He needs to take it out. Higher scouting chance in dungeons. Considering we're only going to be in the ruins for a while, this is very good. Like, I've gotten a lot of very nice ruin-centric buffs. And this one. In town, she'll only drink, as I mentioned earlier with the Crusader and the fact that he'll only do it praying. She can only go to the pub to drink. So if the caretaker was in her spot and she was stressed out, she'd have to be stressed for a full week and basically get 2 weeks out of action unless I gave 2 slots in there. You'd swear a barbarian would just be able to grab him by the head and drag him out, but no. She's a Warren's adventurer, so better resistance and faster healing. So a camp, certain camp effects, so I'm just going to talk about them now because I've mentioned them a few times. Here's her camp effects. Sharpened Spear, she gets higher crit chance. Higher AC, and monsters that have a size 2 and up, she deals 20% more damage to. And she can heal 1 companion with a 33% chance to remove bleeding. You don't need bandages in your pack for this before the icon makes you think otherwise. This guy, he can reduce someone's stress, he can prepare to take on bigger monsters, he can scout ahead, improve scouting chances. You get the idea from that. Some of them are really nice, like Reynold has Zealous Speech, reduces everyone's stress, and heals them all by 10%. Like 10% stress reduce, 10% heal. That's very, very nice. And then you've got, say, here where she chants, and if we had Vestals and Crusaders in the group and only them, or if we have, let's just say we have a Hellion who's not very religious, and we have the Vestal, and we have Crusaders. Like say we have two of these Crusaders, her and her. She uses this effect. She heals everyone except the Hellion who's not religious for 15, and reduces their stress by 15. But it also heals the Hellion just for less, so it's not a negative, so it's kind of cool. And then there's this one, the same effect as before with the religion. Because they're religious, they'll get reduced stress, higher reduced stress. Here, it's only a bit. Let's see, is there anyone else? Is there any obvious ones? This is one. All companions have 20% stress resist. Holy crap, I hope I don't lose this guy, because that's very good. Now, eventually, let's see, is there anything I can upgrade here? No, I don't have enough deeds to upgrade the barracks. That'll just increase how many lads you can have. As you see, we have 7 of 9. Here, there's the survivalist. Later on, you'll be able to use her to change camp skills. So say, let's see, what would be a good example? I always like taking wound care, and certain classes have wound care. So I could go here, have her specifically train this one. And the same with the abilities as well. Once you get the guild, you can actually purchase skills for a particular hero. So say, any one of these 3 Reynold doesn't have. He doesn't have Battle Heal, Holy Lance, or Inspiring Cry. Holy Lance is really good because, as you saw, sometimes he would get caught, knocked back to 3 or 4 position and not be able to attack. This is his only attack that allows him to, and it has what's called a forward, which means that the character themselves moves, so they actually take a step forward, so it actually allows them to get back into position and attack. That's really, really good. And then there's a breakthrough like this Berserker has, so she can actually just from any position hit the first 3 targets, but it does weaken her because that was broken as hell, and they changed it because it was way too good. She also has this, which stuns, and it exhausts her, but it stuns. And usually with her, she has such high crit and such naturally, like she only has a little bit here, but eventually they can crit for quite a bit. It tends to be just worth more so using this kind of spell and say increasing their damage. And Adrenaline Rush is really good. Like I fucking love Adrenaline Rush on these guys. It's ridiculous. I have someone now with Adrenaline Rush, Sharpened Spear, and 2 abilities that exhaust her, but Wicked Hacket, which everyone gets, because I think everyone gets the first spell. I'm just looking through to see if there's an example of someone who doesn't, but no, everyone gets the first spell. I think the Highwayman didn't have, because his first spell is just a weaker version of Shank. It has higher accuracy, but it doesn't bleed. So, I've rambled for quite a bit. This is Darkest Dungeon. It's quite fun, and I'm just going to take a look at what we'll be doing next time. As you can see, we have to clear a path to the boss. So we're on level 1, that gave us access to everything. So now from here, we can go into any of these dungeons. As you can see, there's timers, short, and it's apprentice level 1. If it was level 3, I would not touch it, because none of my guys are level 3, would panic, would get killed so easily. Even level 2s, who are upgraded a bit from the blacksmith and the guild, can get crushed. Apprentice, short, this is the rewards. You can also find stuff inside, so even though a will, for example, like say here, you see the deeds aren't indicated on this, but you could find a deed. You never know, you could find one from an item, or you could get bloodied and poisoned from it, which would suck, but could happen. This is a medium, you'll get a campfire, and you'll have to do it with that. That one sucks. And then there's a cleanse. There's also the type that's the top of it. See here? Scout. We have to go through here, take note of how many creatures have taken over, but don't delve too far. It's a scout mission. It's short, won't take very long. Skirmish. Go in there and try to shortcut their numbers down a bit. Explore. This one sucks. Here, as you can see, this one is just don't delve too far, it says, so that's why it's short. But here, we take as long as we need. We need to search a lot, so this is a medium. And then there's this one, which is cleanse, which is to cleanse out certain objects. Right, so I'll probably end up doing one of the short missions and then a longer mission the time after, because I did not know I could just make the blood change on the background. Blah, 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 blah. I've never been to the code. This region will be added later, just with this one. Whereas these two, they need to be explored to be unlocked. The Darkest Dungeon itself is the final place, and they haven't finished it yet, so they haven't released it. And the same with the Cove, which I think will be occurring before the Darkest Dungeon. So I'm going to leave it there, and I will come back to this, and we'll be taking on, I think we'll probably take on either an Explorer or a Skirmish. Anything that causes me to get an excuse to fight with a bunch of Crusaders. Right, so this is Dasacht. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you all next time. Take care.